Mike Davis, right again. What's your reaction to the news?
I would say this. Mike Roman is a warrior. Thank God he pursued this, and thank God he picked Ashley as his attorney. If I'm ever in hot water, I am calling Ashley because she is also a savage. She took Fani Willis to the mat and she won. I mean, think about what Fani did here. She hired her dumb, unqualified boyfriend, paid him $700,000 in Fulton County funds. She took illegal kickbacks from this dumb, unqualified boyfriend, Nathan Wade, in the form of these lavish trips around the world. She told us all that she's a Grey Goose girl. She lied about it in court. She perjured herself. And somehow she survived that with the trial court because that Scott McAfee turned himself into a pretzel to let her stay on the case but kick off Nathan Wade from the case. The Georgia Court of Appeals did the right thing here by disqualifying Fani Willis and thus disqualifying the entire office. This case is dead. I agree with Phil. It's not coming back. This is just another part of the Democrat lawfare that backfired spectacularly. And I would say to Fani Willis, you better lawyer up, darling, because I imagine the Trump 47 Justice Department may be looking at federal felony charges against you for honest services fraud, maybe bribery. There are so many potential crimes that Fani Willis could have committed. And as she likes to say, nobody's above the law.
I'm sorry. I have no problem with that. None whatsoever. This woman would not let go of this case, even when she knew she had done wrong. She definitely, in my opinion, took the stand and lied, committed perjury, notwithstanding the fact that she's an officer of the court, and so did Nathan Wade. And she should be pursued. She should be pursued with the exact same vigor that she pursued Donald Trump. That is the only way these people who went after him with such venom will learn. I mean, Alvin Bragg and Fani Willis in particular. Okay. Here's the moment I remember. You guys know this. We met you shortly thereafter, Phil, when we started covering this, and you were like, hey, I know a lot about this. This case, when it broke almost a year ago, was dismissed. I was like, this is bullshit. There's just some loser lawyer down in Atlanta who no one's ever heard of trying to question, what is this salacious nonsense about an affair between these two? Like, come on, we're above it. And the New York Times' team over at The Daily had a discussion about that shortly after it did catch fire, as we all knew and predicted from the get-go it would. Listen.
If I'm remembering correctly, the feeling that a lot of people had when this motion was filed was that it was kind of a Hail Mary, right? And there was not much evidence that it was necessarily even true.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a Hail Mary in the sense that Michael Roman's lawyer didn't include any evidence to back up her claim, this very salacious claim. So there was a moment there when nobody knew really what to make of it. It was a very uncomfortable moment.
It was a Hail Mary, that really, Phil, it's like, no one saw it going anywhere.
Yeah, look, and I remember very clearly because I was posting on X or Twitter about it, whatever it was at the time, and other media. We were talking about it here, and we got just a lot of people just dismissed. Oh, well, there's no evidence and all this, but I knew better. Okay, I knew there was evidence. And even if I didn't know maybe what exactly some of that evidence was, I know Ashley Merchant. We're co-counsel together on certain cases, even right now. And if Ashley Merchant says she's got evidence, she has evidence. And there is no doubt about it in my mind. And so we fast forward to the hearing. And of course, lo and behold, it all became public record. We saw a lot of what her evidence was. And we saw that this thing does have legs. And to be honest with you, some of the best evidence for Ashley and her client in this case was the testimony of Willis, right? Because if she had not testified the way that she did and made this whole thing into such a outrageous spectacle, it probably would not have caught the attention of the Georgia Court of Appeals the way that it did, because they pointed out in this opinion, guys, they said, look, normally the mere appearance of a conflict of interest is not going to be enough, but this is the exceptional case. That may be the rule, but this is the exception, and it's the exception because it's so egregious. How did it get so egregious? It got so egregious because of the way she marched herself into that courtroom, and for the whole world to see, displayed that she has a personal interest in this case. It's personal to her. It's a vendetta almost. And as the Court of Appeals pointed out in this opinion, prosecutors are supposed to serve the public interest, not their own interests, not even their personal egos, if that's what it was. But in this case, there's this odor that all these other things exist in terms of a personal interest, whether it's with her paramour or the fancy trips that he takes her on, or the fact that he gets paid more and more and more the longer this case goes on. All of these things piled up together against Willis. And here we are today. And it's worth noting that Ashley's client, of course, as she mentioned, props to him for having the tenacity to allow her to do this. But all the other defendants in the case, even if they didn't participate in her motion, and a lot of them did not join in this motion, this ruling applies to all of them. Every single defendant in the case, whether they joined in her motion or not, they benefited from what she has pulled off here. And it's quite remarkable, and it's historic, and it's something that kind of restores a little bit of faith in the Georgia justice system today.
Mike, as a practical matter, this is just so helpful to Trump because what he was alleged to have done in this case wasn't all necessarily in his role as official acts as president, thus falling within the Supreme Court ruling saying he has immunity for that. And, the sort of scheme with the electors and some of the stuff after the fact. So it might have been tougher to dump this case based on the Supreme Court than it was with the others. So it really, in some ways, did come down to this motion by Ashley Merchant, and she did it. And so the best part of it, because I think we'd be cheering it on either way, because this was just a bullshit made-up claim. But what's so great about it is Fani Willis is guilty. Like, this actually happened. We all believed that. There was so much testimony. Nathan Wade, he lied under oath in his interrogatory answers in his divorce proceeding, where he claimed there was nobody that he'd taken the trips with. He had no receipts from any trips he'd taken with. It was all lies. He'd been all over the world with Fani. He was a proven liar. And this case came down to his testimony and Fani's testimony. Neither was credible. They embarrassed themselves on the stand. And really what they showed was that they're not people of good character. And that was really at the heart of the problems behind them bringing this case to begin with.
Yeah, I would say this. Number one, to Mike Roman, to Fani Willis, you probably don't want to go after the best opposition researcher and lawyer in the Republican Party if your own house is not in order. So cheers to Mike Roman. To Ashley Merchant, what country do you want to go serve as the ambassador under the Trump 47 administration? I think you have the pick. Maybe Napa. You want to go have a job at Napa. You want to go be the ambassador to Belize. Whatever job you want to think you'll have. To Fani Willis, I would say this. Perfect. This is my message to Fani. You can be dumb, incompetent, arrogant, and corrupt. You might, I don't think you're going to be able to get away with all four of those things. Maybe one or two, but not all four.
Yeah. Well, tell it to Joy Reid, because remember, speaking about Fani and some of these other Soros-appointed DAs, many of whom got their jobs under the, we need more, DEI, whatever. Remember this from Joy Reid?
I think Fani Willis is a hero. She is a national hero. MAGA could not prove an actual conflict of interest since there was none. But because America is always America, the victory for DA Fani Willis also came with a scolding for a professional black woman about her judgment.
There is something wonderfully poetic. The first person to actually criminally prosecute Donald Trump is a black Harvard grad, the very kind of person that his former staff, the people who worked for him, Stephen Miller, et cetera, want to never be at Harvard Law School. But he was.
Really?
And a black woman is doing that same exact thing in Georgia. And a black woman forced you to pay a $175 million fine. Donald Trump is being held to account by the very multicultural, multiracial democracy that he's trying to dismantle. And for me, there's something poetic and actually wonderful. Go DEI. My DEIs are bringing it home on me.
What do you make of that, Mike?
Oh my Lord. This is like the clown car of DEI prosecutors going after President Trump. This blew up in their faces, and I hope and pray that they are on the receiving end of a federal criminal probe under 18 USC Section 241, conspiracy against rights, a very serious federal civil rights felony. When you politicize and weaponize intel agencies and law enforcement at every level, federal, state, local, to go after Trump, to go after his supporters, you have committed a very serious federal civil rights felony, 18 USC Section 241. So I hope these DEI prosecutors lawyer up.
It already cost them the presidency. It cost them the Senate, and it could cost them a lot more. Depending on what the investigations into them, which are undoubted, will likely show. So, Phil, bottom line, you say there won't be another prosecuting attorney. Like if the person has to volunteer to say, I'll do it, and you say there's no one who's going to do that in all likelihood.
Yeah, I don't see it because, each district attorney's office in the state of Georgia, they've got their own problems. They've got their own crime issues. They got murders. They got assaults. They got organized retail theft. They've got all the things that plague the citizens of the state of Georgia and elsewhere around the country, of course. But this is the business of what local prosecutors do. They don't have the time nor the inclination to go back and clean up Willis's mess because they would have to start over from the very beginning because she has so tainted this case that even if there were any evidence that anybody committed a crime, it's just not a viable indictment.
For those of us who have been holding our breath for the past several months, we can finally exhale in the wake of this presidential election, right? Work can finally be done on the major issues that this country's facing, and one of the most significant is our national debt. Look, the fact is our nation's broke, and that debt is a house of cards that cannot be quickly dismantled by anyone. So the strategy remains the same when it comes to your investments. You might want to diversify your savings. Virtually all the experts say that's a good idea. This is why I want to tell you about Birch Gold. So many things are out of our control and out of our president's control that it really can be important to have a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group can help you if you would like to convert all or part of an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold, which is like a hedging of the bets. And the best news is it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. You just text MK to 989898 and you get your free info kit. And plus right now you will receive a free 1 ounce silver eagle for every $5,000 purchased Silver Eagle coin. Protect your savings with Birch Gold. Text MK to 989898 and claim your eligibility for free silver today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.